Here we have the first 3 editions of The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrice Potter. I'm Pom Harrington and I'm the owner of Peter Harrington Books. Here we have 5 books, and this is the first 3 editions of Peter Rabbit. And Peter Rabbit, which is probably one of the most famous and important 20th century children's book. It originally started with a letter to Noel Moore in 1893, where she wrote with pictorial bunny rabbits within the letter. And she came back to the idea of thinking it would make a nice book. So she asked for the letter back, and she wrote the book in 1901, but she struggled to get it published at all. The format for children's books had changed, and there was a feeling towards large format and colour, which she hadn't done. So, being a lady of some means in the family, she self-published the book. And in December 1901, she produced this, which is the first edition of The Tale of Peter Rabbit. There's 250 copies printed, and it was done in this sort of grey binding with flat pack. There were 41 black and white illustrations and 1 coloured frontispiece, which is this. And I'm very gentle opening this up because it's very tight, the binding's not been read. On the title page itself is very plain. There's no date or anything like that. Just, there we are. And there's no details in the back. This literally is all the information you have. To tell the first edition, you really do need to have the grey and the flat back. It was so successful, she priced this at 1 shilling and 2p, and she sold it locally and she gave copies to friends. But by February the following year, she'd already commissioned a reprint. And so a new impression was published in February 1902. And she changed the format marginally. The main difference between the issues are this was actually done in a green binding and with a round back. And if I just to show you like this, you can see it's round back. And if I produce the first issue, you can see the flat back. You can clearly see the 2 differences. Like I said, 200 copies were printed, and again, that was very successful. The other difference is actually on the title page, and this time she added in the date, and we got a February 1902. So you have 2 clear differences between the 2 impressions. The book was successful, it was well received, and with this, she convinced Frederick Warne and Company to publish the book properly. And in October 1902, finally a proper trade edition was published. And because it was done properly, they actually had all the illustrations done in colour. So this becomes the first coloured edition. If I just flick through. Now the book was immensely popular, very successful, and multiple impressions were issued very, very quickly. So to tell the first edition, there's a couple of key points. One was within the text. If I just find it here. On page 51, there's an issue saying wept big tears. And in later printings, and I'll show you later, it changed to shed big tears. And in the first printing, which I'll show you here, it was cried big tears. And here we are. You can see that. Cried big tears. So first was cried big tears. The first trade edition was wept, and actually in the later printings become shed. So we can clearly see the differences. There are 8,000 copies printed of this, and there was 2 issues of it. About 6,000 were done in the paper binding at 1 shilling, and actually 2,000 were done in this deluxe cloth binding, and that was 1 shilling and 6p. Both these things share the same characteristics, same misprint, and most importantly have these floral end papers. Now you must have these floral end papers to be a first edition. Lastly, and quite importantly, on the title page of these books, there is no date mentioned on the title page here or on the back. No copyright, no date. So the 3 components being the end papers, the misprint, and the lack of date gives you the first trade edition. Beatrice Potter wrote more books, Taylor of Gloucester, Tales of Flopsy Bunny, Benjamin Bunny. They issued variations on the deluxe binding, and actually they evolved all the other books to a different version of deluxe binding as they each came out. And so Peter Rabbit had to catch up. And so in 1910, they reissue Peter Rabbit in the same deluxe format as the other books that are being published. And so here you had the third edition, really, of Peter Rabbit in its sort of final deluxe format, with this gilt decoration and the little picture in there. All these books are very collectible when in nice condition. These books were read to death. They often turn up in poor condition, but when they're in fine condition like this, they become very collectible and very valuable. We're very privileged today to have all of these here in one go. For details about these books and other books by Beatrice Potter, please see the Peter Harrington website.